Hello everyone, and welcome back to Warships Blitz with Terry. I'm back from my vacation, so regular program resumes, and immediately we'll kick it off with, well, I know, I did say I wasn't going to keep track of all the latest and expensive premiums, and this is yet another, well, you could say a version of an Edinburgh almost, but it isn't also. And it was interesting, so I looked at it, and it's a light cruiser, so bear with me. And then very quickly after I looked at it, I realized that I absolutely had to make a review on this, because I don't know what Wargaming were drinking when they came up with this thing, but I want some of it. Anyway, this is HMS Tiger. It's a Tier 8 premium, and technically it's a 1950s ship. Well, she started out as HMS Bellerophon, which was a Minotaur class light cruiser, which has nothing to do with either the Bellerophon or the actual Minotaur we see in the game, because the British do like to reuse their names of their ships quite a bit. You know, if you've got a good name for a ship, why come up with something else? Just keep using it. And they also use the term class rather broadly. It's more like generally similar, or we came up with this at the same time sort of thing. Anyway, the Minotaur class was supposed to be, when they initially came up with it, kind of an expanded Fiji sort of design, but they never really got around to building them because, you know, they had better things to do, and there was sort of a war going on. So in the 1940s, they did lay down some of them, but they never really went on and actually completed any of these things. So in the 1950s, they had a lot of financial issues. They actually had personnel issues, and they figured, well, let's try picking them up again. And they did eventually finish the Tiger, which was then renamed. And these cruisers were designed as, well, AA gun cruisers, kind of. So the idea was that these would be sailing together with carriers, and they would be, you know, providing AA support. So they ended up putting 4 guns on these things. Yes, you hear me right. These are cruisers with 4 main guns. And a bunch of, I think it's 76mm AA cannons on it as well. Now, if you compare that to something like the British, the Americans have done, like the Worcester class, which has, well, lots of guns, or what the Soviets have done with the Project 63, I think, designs, which were AA gun cruisers as well, which also had lots of guns. How did the British justify having something that had 4 guns? Well, they said, well, first of all, these guns are dual purpose, and second of all, these guns are amazing because they are fully automated and radar controlled, and they have a fire rate of, I think it was it? I can't remember, 30 rounds per minute or something. So something of that description. So the idea was to say, oh yeah, even if we're going to have to fight Soviet jet planes, we have such a high fire rate, and they are fully automatic and they're radar controlled, and if the Soviets are dropping a nuke anywhere near this thing, then we're just going to button down the hatches and we can sail around in nuclear wastelands for 2 weeks because everything is fully automatic. So the government said, great, okay, let's do this then. And unfortunately, it turned out that in practice, the guns tended to jam after about 30 rounds. Because it was a very complex mechanism. So the Navy said, not to worry, this isn't a problem, because within half a minute we'll be having shot down the bomber, and then it doesn't really matter anymore if the gun is jamming or not. So in the end, these ships were, well, I'm quoting here, among the worst abortions ever thrust upon the Royal Navy. And that wasn't just anyone saying, that was Sir Morgan-Giles, Admiral of the Royal Navy, making that statement in the House of Parliament. At some point, the Tiger was basically a floating office because they had personnel shortages and the things were so small that they couldn't really do a lot with them either. And then Russian bombers tended to fly extremely high, and 150 millimeter guns were really not a thing anymore. And the ships were then eventually decommissioned. So yeah. Of course, something that is called is called that by an actual admiral of the Royal Navy had to make its way into World Warships, didn't it? But for a 1950s design, she mercifully has been dropped down into Tier 8. So what is this thing then? Let's have a first look at the ship skills, because this is a ship where how am I going to describe this? Wargaming has swung the pendulum all the way in one corner, I'd say. She gets 3 smoke 3s. So these are active for 32 seconds. Okay. We get 3 Air Defense Alert 3, which, as you may know, doubles the large caliber and does a 200% on the small caliber. So with something that is a dedicated AA cruiser, this should be good, right? And we get 3 consumables of Radar 3, which has a 9-kilometer range. All right then. So we have a ship that is an AA cruiser at Tier 8. Okay, let's compare her to the Cleveland, because that's also an AA cruiser at Tier 8. and see how well these two match up with each other. Obviously, the Cleveland doesn't get a Radar 3, she only gets the Radar 1, which only has a 7.2 kilometer range. She does get a Hydro though, and she does get the Def AA2, which just doubles the small caliber. So if we compare these two, the first thing we notice is that HMS Tiger obviously is squishier because she's a British light cruiser, and they tend to be on the squishy side. She is relatively maneuverable. Well, it's really more of a destroyer in the end from that size. And yeah, she gets 152mm guns with a 2.5 second reload. So on paper, that sounds pretty amazing. That reminds me of the Friesland. The thing is, unlike with other British light cruisers, premium light cruisers or premium cruisers in general that tend to get high explosive shells, the Tiger does not. These are armor-piercing guns only. Right? So, yeah, compare that to the 12 152mm guns on the Cleveland. Yes, she has a longer reload. No, she's still a lot better at that. The AA on the Tiger is very, very weird. She gets 85 points of damage on the large caliber AA, but a 4.2 kilometer range, which is very long. And the small caliber AA, for some reason, also has a very long range with 3 kilometers, but does 142 points of damage only. So compare that to the Cleveland. Now, we know that the Cleveland has actually the Def AA2, so in effect, she will get about 500 points of damage on 3.6 kilometers, whereas the Tiger gets 160 at 4.2, which is a little bit longer, but really doesn't all matter that much. Once we get into 3 kilometer range, the Tiger actually gets the small caliber AA tripled. So we get 450 plus 160, so about 600, which is good. So a bit more than the Cleveland. Once the Cleveland small caliber AA kicks in with another 400 though, it's way behind what the Cleveland can do. So she has some AA, but it's not Cleveland level. The concealment is pretty decent. Comparing her, I'm going to actually compare her to the actual Minotaur, because the Minotaur also has these 152mm Mark 26 turrets, the fully automatic ones. At Tier 10 gets a 3.5 second reload, but the guns are better. These are not the same guns, even though on paper they are. They have been downscaled a little bit to Tier 8, and we get into more details about that later on. So lastly, we're going to have to compare her to the Edinburgh, because the Edinburgh being the, well, Tech Tree light cruiser at Tier 8. The Edinburgh has a 7.5 second reload, but she gets 12 guns. So she gets 3 times more guns than the Tiger, which means that in effect, she has the same gun firepower as the Tiger. Just in the Tiger, you get to shoot them faster. So a Tiger is effectively an Edinburgh where you single fire the turrets. That's what a Tiger is. Only that the Edinburgh does more damage with the guns, but has a much worse turret traverse. Also, the Edinburgh, while nobody would call the Edinburgh, well, at least I wouldn't, a very powerful T8 light cruiser, she still has some torpedoes. The Tiger does not. The AA on the Edinburgh is okay. It's not at the same level, but it's definitely decent. And the Edinburgh also has the defensive AA. It's only a defensive AA1, but it still does some increase. So I would say she's about on par with the Edinburgh, maybe a little bit better in terms of AA. Obviously gets this massive array of ship skills. So you're technically perma-smoked. And you have a long-range radar. And the defensive AA looks great on paper, but given the base values, it's not all that much. So it's probably between an Edinburgh and a Cleveland. And yeah, so what will it leave us with? Is this a tier 8 Friesland? No, it isn't. Because the Friesland, well, as a destroyer, the Bofors demonstrator boat, gets high explosive shells. This thing does not. Now, you could argue, well, yes, but Terry, but she gets the Minotaur's guns. No, she doesn't. I know the Minotaur's guns pretty well, and these are not the Minotaur's guns. These things are going to struggle damaging other light cruisers at range. Talking about battleships, you can try to tickle them to death, but good luck doing it. There's not going to be a very much coming out of this. So I figured what we've been given, let's throw everything we possibly can at it and see what comes out. You get the choice between more main battery traverse speed, which is useless because you have all the traverse speed you ever need. So I went with the other one, which gives us more large caliber AA damage, which isn't a lot because we don't have any to start with. And it gives us a bit more hit points, which is also not, well, it's useful, but that's about that. The historical camo, if you put that on there, you get more hit points, you get more range, which really isn't useful because you're not going to damage anything at that range. You get large caliber AA range, that is useful, and you get better surface detection. Now, it's probably useful as well. I have put David Beatty on here because he gets the improved Mistweaver. So he is fully upgraded. So his legendary skills, he doesn't get the air defense expert because I was prioritizing the Sixth Sense here because it tells us if we're going to get shot at, which in a British light cruiser is generally a good thing to know. But he does have the armor-piercing cap shells, and he also gets the improved demo expert for a better chance of damaging something. And Citadel Strike, obviously, on a light cruiser isn't super important, but well, you can't take Giant Hunter because you don't have any torpedoes. So, but yeah, he does have the APCS skills. So, module-wise, I figured we're going with a meme setup because, well, you can't really take this ship seriously, can you? The main battery mod 3 for better precision. I have made a full AA build. Now you could, the maneuverability is great. You don't need to do anything about that. So what you could do is you could take concealment, and I don't know what you want to take. Risk fire maybe, or propulsion. You could, yeah, if you wanted to. So these are all things you could do. Fighting enemy destroyers is kind of fun, like it is in an Edinburgh. Really, you have a smoke, you have a radar. It's quite useful. I figured I'll throw everything I can into the AA just for shits and giggles. So we've got improved range and we've got improved small caliber AA damage. This is the one that's actually hurting, which gets us in grand totals to, let's see where we are at. We have an almost 5 kilometer range on the large caliber AA, which is great if it did any damage, which it doesn't, which is surprising because that's literally what the purpose of this ship was, to use these 150 millimeter autocannons against enemy planes. We do have a 3.3 kilometer range on the small caliber AA, and if we have the defensive AA up, that is actually gonna hurt. And yeah, like I said, you could do a stealth build in this thing if you wanted to. The thing is, you have no offensive capability. You have almost nothing that you can use to hurt other people with. You're very useful for your team in terms of radaring, in terms of smoking up, in terms of AA defense, somewhat. So you're quite useful for that. If you pair the ship with something that actually has firepower and can compensate for that, then you actually get something useful out of it. If you're playing solo in randoms, oftentimes, if a destroyer rushes you, you have to run away because you have no torpedoes. And smokes are nice, but a lot of things have radar, starting to have radar at tier 8. So yeah. Anyway, so here we are with a maxed out HMS Tiger, and let's see what kind of nonsense we can get ourselves into. In our first battle, no carrier, but we are top tier, up against Roma, Black Monarch, Colorado, Mogami, Cleveland, Asashio, and Sims. Cleveland, as we've just determined, has radar. So we do have 2 destroyers, and I think the Asashio has deep waters. I'm not 100% sure, but either way, I'm in a cruiser, so it doesn't matter. And we are playing on New Dawn for domination, so I am going to help out in Sea Cup. I'm just going to sail down there and see what we can get ourselves into. We do have an Erland here with us, so does the Erland get radar? Maybe, I'm not sure. And we do have a battleship of our own, so let's head out there. That's a Nagato. Nagato is a good ship. So yeah, I think these turrets are 360 as well. They look like, because they seem to be turning. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't really verified, but it doesn't matter. The turrets get on target very, very quickly. The big problem, obviously, that you're going to have with this ship is, well, the complete absence of any firepower whatsoever against surface targets. I mean, you can do some damage, and there's the Cleveland. So Cleveland's first target. I start opening up at him, and yeah, you can do some damage over time. I am smoking up to trigger the Cleveland's radar, and he is radaring me, but he's not shooting at me. So he's probably spotted the Erland, but I am inside the capture circle, and with BT the smoke's lasting so long that it doesn't really matter all that much. And yes, you can definitely whittle down things, because, well, at the end of the day, you have similar guns sort of to the Edinburgh, a bit weaker. and the Edinburgh's guns aren't terrible, so I am often trying at longer range when it gets a bit weaker to hit either the superstructure or the weak points. But against something like a Cleveland, you can, at this range, you can sort of still do damage, but it starts getting a little iffy at some point. Anyway, we do have an Asashio spotted over there, and the Nagato seems to be trying to do something about that. You do realize that there's going to be torpedoes coming in. Yeah, there they come. And I am going to have to dodge that, because while it feels like I'm in a destroyer, I'm most certainly not, which means I can't quite rush after this Asashio. And but I do want to get the guns on target and try to help out this Nagato here, and just get rid of that Asashio as quickly as we possibly can. Yeah, the guns are useful against destroyers. It kind of feels weird to only have 4 of them, but they reload very, very quickly, and you can do a lot of damage against destroyers, because you effectively have the Edinburgh's firepower just staggered. Like, imagine it, like you're shooting one turret at a time on the Edinburgh, more or less. That's kind of what this is like. Okay, I am still being targeted. Something's coming in from behind. It's another battleship, but it's only one, and I still don't want to be hit. So let's try if we can do something against that Monarch at 10 kilometers. I mean, we've got almost 40 seconds in our smoke to sit in here, and trying to tickle the Monarch to death. And I mean, no one's going to accuse the British battleships of being well armored, but I am still trying to aim for the weak spots, and just kind of rain death and destruction down. If he does me a solid and sails at a straight line, he's shooting at me possibly. I don't know. No one's targeting me because no one can see me, so he's either been blind firing. But yeah, if I don't manage to hit the superstructure or the bow stern section, then there's not an awful lot going on with the guns. Alright, the Nagato has been dispatched off, so now the Monarch has nothing better to do. And I am hugging an island here, just to throw his aim off, because it's actually often surprisingly difficult to hit ships that are close to islands. I've had problems with that myself, but now it's time to sail around, now that he's fired his salvo. And just keep trying to tickle him to death. But you see what I'm talking about, right? If I had been in Edinburgh, I would have had more firepower on the guns, and I would have had torpedoes his way. And even though the Edinburgh is not great in terms of its torpedo firepower, I would still have done some decent damage to that Monarch over there. Now the Cleveland is shooting at me. Unfortunately, we are rapidly running out of team. And everyone's converging here. So with the Cleveland this close, I am probably almost in sonar range. So I do need to... 4 people are targeting me, obviously. I do need to figure out a way to do something that doesn't need smoking up. I mean, I can smoke up, but as you can see, the Roma decided that this was a good time to delete a British light cruiser that was just sailing around there. So there we go. I could have smoked earlier, but then the Cleveland would have just radared me. And now that Erland's getting shot at by everybody, the rest of our team, I don't know if that battleship up there is AFK. But yeah, that Erland is very dead. And yeah, we can fast forward that to the point where we lost the battle, because it's very obvious that we're not winning this. I think the only kill was me of actually taking out that Asashio. Yeah, there's a Bismarck, that might have been useful, but it seems AFK. So there's another Erland who's trying to dodge duke it out with the Sims. Yeah, I'll just forward that. Give me a sec. Okay, here we are. And... we have done 43,000 points of damage, which is actually not terrible. I mean, you can do a little bit of damage, but you have to keep these guns firing permanently. And getting anywhere above like 50,000 points of damage is actually quite difficult at times. So we're still coming out on top of the team. Yeah, AFK Bismarck, and the Roma has done good there. In our second battle, we are bottom tier, but it's mostly tier 8. There's a Jutland on our side, and there's a Minnesota on the enemy team. And we're up against the Lexington. So, same tier carrier, and we are in a maxed out full AA build. 2 destroyers, Öland, and Lightning. So, let's get going. There's also a Tone, so there might be some squishy scout planes in the air at some point. But yeah, let's see what we can get ourselves into during this battle. Encounter... Kinda, you get used to the map because it's so frequent in upper tiers. So spawning where I am going to go left flank and secure that island there, because there will be destroyers coming out that side most likely. And we do have a battleship here of our own. We've got an Aki, that's good to have. And we have the carrier and the battleship on this flank, so... I'm just going to hide behind the island and see where the carrier goes, and if I can get myself in underneath the carrier drop. Because, you know, that's something you can do. This is not even a tier 9 carrier, it's just a tier 8 carrier. There are some dive bombers coming in my general direction. No, he's turned around. So the Aki is safe from airdrops, and I think the friendly fighters are just chasing him away. Aki goes spotting because carrier is busy, and there's the Tone and the Öland, so Aki smokes up, and we'll give some fire support. Unfortunately, I am actually spotted here, so I'm gonna have to use my own smoke. There's obviously torpedoes coming because both Tone and Öland have torpedoes, so I don't want to poke my nose out. Tone being the more dangerous enemy for the Aki, so he's dropped his own torpedoes, but I don't think they are going to hit. And the carrier is trying to drop the Aki, so I'm spinning up the defensive AA just to see if I can do something about it. And these airplanes are dead. The Aki has overextended. And this is why a carrier scout would have been super useful over here. So let's shoot at things that we can actually injure, like that Öland over there. My smoke's about to expire, so I have to retreat, and because there's also a Minnesota coming that way. Öland's trying to go undetected. Yeah, buddy, not with the radar 3. You're not going undetected anywhere. So Aki is also focusing on that thing, and I think we have successfully pushed the Öland away. We've used the island to to block the Minnesota from shooting us while we're waiting for the smoke. There's some more Erland torpedoes coming around that way. But yeah, Aki has taken a lot of fire, but my smoke screen is almost off cooldown, so given that I have nothing better to shoot at, I'm gonna shoot at the Minnesota. Ouch. Okay, smoking up, because 3 people are targeting me. I do have to Damacon that fire, because otherwise I'm fully visible. And I am trying to hit the rather large superstructure on that Minnesota over there, but to no great effect. Most of my shells are probably bouncing off. And yeah, there you go. Even if I'm trying to hit the stern section, not much is happening. So yes, I can try to shoot at Minnesota, but it's not really going to do an awful lot. I can tickle him to death over time eventually, but yeah, if he can spot me, that's not a good thing. Okay, these are just fighters, so I don't need my FAA for that. And still trying to tickle the Minnesota to death, but that Tone is coming extremely close around the island here, so I think I might have to vacate the spot, because I am now obviously targeted again. That's probably the Minnesota, so I do need to get out of here. Fortunately, this thing maneuvers like a destroyer, because I have absolutely nothing if that Tone decides to come around the corner and torpedo me, because I don't have torpedoes, which would have been useful in many instances. Okay, 2 people are targeting me, so wiggle ship, don't stand still, and the smoke's coming off cooldown in under 10 seconds again, so I can do this once more. The problem is, as you can see, I've been shooting at that Minnesota for the best part of the last 2 minutes, and it hasn't done anything because I can't damage these things with my guns. Because okay, we're trying to help the Bismarck here with some AA cover, and there comes the Tone. Bismarck's been waiting for him apparently, but there are obviously torpedoes coming. Oh, there, these are Erland torpedoes. Okay, I haven't seen the Erland back there. Okay, good to know that he's there. But he's dropped his torpedoes, and they should have missed the Bismarck. Tone may be able to hurt him. Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, there are the Tone torpedoes coming. Or were these air torpedoes? Not sure. There's so much going on. Now, Tone is dead. Enterprise done a good job. And now we just have to kill Cleveland. Yes, I see the Erland, but Erland just dropped his torpedoes. And the Cleveland is very much dangerous for my Aki back there. So I'm going to try and help him out, but yeah, Erland, as you giving me broadside like that, I am going to get some shots in as well. And do some damage to that thing. The Minnesota is still there. No one's damaged the Minnesota, but the enemy team is running out of teammates pretty quickly. I am out of smoke screens, so yeah, looks like that Minnesota hasn't learned that sailing in a straight line is bad. So now he's taking all the Architorps. Now I just have to turn out. This thing is quite quick, so he's misaimed his shot, and now I just have to shoot at Erland over there. And hope that Minnesota doesn't blat me in the side. Yep, there come the Erland torpedoes as expected, and we have shot down 11 airplanes so far, which isn't a lot in my opinion. Yeah, Erland torpedoes gonna hit the Bismarck. Can't hit the Erland right now, so I'm gonna shoot at Minnesota again. And he's not shooting at me, but as you can see, I'm doing absolutely nothing to the Minnesota, so I might as well stop doing that. And start shooting at the Erland again, because that's a destroyer, and killing destroyers is pretty much the only thing I'm good at in this ship. So yes, I am giving broadside to the Minnesota, but he's got 2 battleships at point blank, so he's probably not going to do anything about me. And I can kill the Erland. Is he going to, am I going to get him? Yeah. So one advantage that you actually have in this ship, now it's just the Cleveland left, that is that you can you can retarget your aim pretty quickly. You don't have to wait 7.5 seconds between each salvo, because you reload in 2.5. So if something is maneuvering wildly like a destroyer, if you're not, I mean, you can do the exact same thing in an Edinburgh if you're not salvo firing, but in this thing it's kind of natural. So you can actually you know, keep the guns on point. Now, I have been firing my guns continuously for, well, I'd say the better part of 5 minutes. I've done 149 main battery hits, I've killed 11 airplanes, and I've done 35,000 points of damage. Have I carried this game? Absolutely not, because you can't in this ship, because it doesn't have any firepower. It's just not capable of doing that. It is a pure sort of support ship / destroyer defense thing. You can probably do some things in team battles, but you are not going to you know, rack up the damage numbers in this thing, not like you would in a Friesland. So if you're contented with that, and you're happy to, just play second fiddle and help your team out with things, and do things like provide air cover and long-lasting smoke screens for your team, then this is absolutely useful. But if you're playing solo on randoms and you feel like you need to carry your team and you need to do a lot of damage, this is not the ship for it, because it has no firepower whatsoever, and it will struggle to do more than 50,000 points of damage, which you need to occasionally. And it also doesn't really have the alpha strike, to deal with low health targets. Because, like, let's say in an Edinburgh, yes, you have a 7.5 second reload, but if all guns are reloaded and you get a salvo off, you do the full damage of the salvo. That's not something you can do in the Tiger. You do need to tickle them to death, and that might occasionally net you another salvo from like, say, a low health battleship that you would have otherwise avoided in something like an Edinburgh. So, yeah. I would say I agree with Admiral Morgan-Giles here. That this is one of the more obscure things the Royal Navy has done. And that says a lot. Anyway, that's it for me today. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.